have a very good attitude about it. So I like talent. I like people getting their just deserved. Now, on the other hand, that whole realm I spoke of, getting off the subject a little bit where you're going, is still beneficial because people are now finding ways to make money, hopefully doing it not by hurting anybody, in areas they never would have been able to make money before. That is termed entrepreneurship. And that I support.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. What I was getting at is a lot of people in your position of
Thanks for calling me a celebrity, by the way.
Popular humans who follow your work. A lot of people would be afraid to say what you're saying. And that's why whenever I first met you and I found out you weren't a religious person, I was like, would you say that into a microphone? And you were like, yeah, sure. I have no problem with it. And a lot of people would be afraid to lose fans because a lot of times that's tied to, like politicians definitely won't ever say it. Like I've had politicians tell me privately that they're atheists, but they would never say it. Like
I don't even tweet political tweets because the people out there misinterpret them too much. And that can happen with religious tweets. Yeah. But based on what you're saying, I don't feel that I said anything derogatory or insulting to anybody.
You didn't. But I'm saying a lot of people will pretend to be religious for the public. And so I'm surprised that you're willing to be like, yeah, no, I think that's.
If people want to, if I want to be, when I pretend, two ways. When I'm acting in a movie or a TV show, or when I'm at a poker table, because it's legal to lie at the poker table, I'm going to pretend to do whatever I can to take your chips. Okay?
Okay.
Outside of that, I'm honest and I treat everybody with respect and treat everybody as an equal. It's a very simple theory of life.
That's awesome. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about your podcast. You've started it way longer than you've had it going way longer than I realized.
11 years.
11 years. Usually when I talk to people and they find out how long I've been doing Dogma Debate, they go, wow, that's a long time for a show. You're one of the few people I know who've had a show longer than me. 11 years. So I started mine around 2010, which would put me at 9 years. So you were doing a podcast in 2008?
Yeah, I actually, May of 2008 has started the same month I lost my father. That's why I remember it, so call it well or whatever. But yeah, and I started it back then, not with the theory of wanting to monetize it and make a lot of money out of it, because back then nobody was really making money except for Adam Carolla, who's always been making money on his podcast, and Joe Rogan has now surpassed him. Now it's the number 4 of the top 5 podcasts out there, and much credit to Joe because he's revolutionized the podcast industry, and I give him tremendous credit. For me, yes, do I make money out of it? Yeah, in different ways, because I advertise, the voiceover services that I do and audio and video services that I offer, and I have sponsors like everybody else. But to me, an hour on my podcast, whether I'm interviewing a fine actor like Josh Brolin or, somebody funny like Tommy Chong or, Charles Barkley or great MMA stars like George St. Pierre, or, Conor McGregor, whatever. It's a lifestyles podcast. And after an hour of my podcast, ranting and raving, which I do, I cover the news every week, things that bother me, similar to what we're doing right now. I feel like, and I'm not one to go to a therapist, but I feel like I just had a therapy session for an hour and I got it all out.
It's kind of like prayer. You're talking through a lot of stuff, and that's very beneficial.
Part of my religion, because how you say it, is I got to get into my podcast church once a week, and then I feel great.
I like that.
And that's been the motivating factor, and whatever monetization comes out of it is great. Could I push it harder? Well, there's other things I do in my life business-wise for the monetization processes that I push much harder.
Okay.
Not that I don't mind making money off my podcast, but that's not the result. It's passion. I get back to my passion. I do things with passion. And if I don't have passion for it, then I don't have time for it.
With as much as you travel, we were just talking about that before you had started. You travel, like you're with the UFC all over the world. I mean, your international trips are incredible. I don't see how you have time to do the show. Are you doing it weekly or just whenever you have time?
Every week. We usually record on Tuesdays and we post it up on Thursdays or Wednesday.
So if you're traveling, do you still record remotely?
No, I don't like doing it from the road. I like doing it when I'm here. And I know I'm always here on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, because when I travel, I leave on Friday or Thursday usually. Unless Australia, I had to leave on Wednesday. But I've had...
So hold on. So these international trips are just over the weekend and then you're right back?
I just went to Australia and left on last Wednesday night, landed on Friday, did the show there on Sunday, left there on Monday at 11 in the morning and landed here before I left there at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is the true example of time travel known to man. And I've had 6 international shows in the last 7 weeks. Now, I don't have a show UFC this weekend.
I want everyone to pause that, rewind it, and listen to what he said and just follow the craziness that happened. He said, I landed here before I left there. Yeah. It really happened. Yeah.
I tried to figure out how to call my bookie for the games on Sunday, but it doesn't work that way. I was thinking about the what do you call it, Back to the Future routine when he found the almanac. That didn't work. I think I tried that more than once. It still didn't work. So with that being said, it's like this week there's a UFC in Tampa, but I have a person that fills in for me. They have another announcer that fills in for me about 6 or 7 shows a year. He'll be doing that. It's a smaller show. And since I'm not doing that show, I'm going off to the University of Kentucky in Lexington to announce the Midnight Madness basketball game, which is a huge game on Friday. Nice. And I'm very excited about that because I'll have like 20, 30,000 screaming college students that I'll be able to just take to the next level, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Let me ask you this. So whenever you just this is my own personal thing. Whenever you do an event like that that's outside the UFC, are you allowed to say the It's Time thing?
I own It's Time.
It's yours, so you can do it wherever you want.
When I say I own it, what I mean is respected. I have a trademarked little business here. I have a trademarked classes 35 and 41, which is announcing services, promotional, and entertainment services. So they can't take my It's Time from a UFC and put it into even a social media tweet or a radio show or a podcast or whatever without my okay, because I own the trademarks here and in some other countries.
And it's also the way you say it, right?
That's the key thing, is the way I say it. I mean, you can go say it's time for,
Right. If I were to start my show by saying, all right, it's time for Dogma Debate.
I have no.
But if I were to do the build up, it's time.
Yeah, if you're copying me and all that.
That's an infringement.
There could be an issue.
Interesting.
More so and definitively so if you use my voice in my recording.
Gotcha.
But just like being the brother of Michael Buffer, the great announcer, I didn't want to be Frank Sinatra Jr. by copying what he does.
Right.
And I told myself when I started in this business that if in the first 2 or 3 years I didn't develop my own style, I was going to get out of it. I wanted to be recognized for being an original and a trendsetter. And now people are, I'm told, copying me, and I'm very physical when I announce. I move. I've been known to jump and spin in a 360, all this kind of stuff. And when I watch other announcers try to do the physical, I go, God, dude, don't. You're looking pretty bad there. Don't. I tell everybody, announcers write me all the time, and I tell them really simply, anything in life, look at 3 or 4 of the leaders in the industry you want to be in. I don't care if you want to be a waiter, an actor, a podcaster, a comedian, or a CEO. Look at the top people that you admire. Look at what made them get to where they did. Juxtapose it into one ball and figure out what works for you with your own style, right? Because if you're going to be recognized for greatness or for being the best of what you can be, whichever comes first, obviously greatness second, it's going to be because you're an original, not because you're out there doing what Michael Buffer does or doing what I do in respect to announcing. Right.
Yeah.
Or
because you're never going to get out of that shadow. You're always going to be like that guy. Like you've got to be original.
What was the comedian Joe Rogan got upset with the
Carlos Mencia?
Yeah, Mencia. Yeah. It's like when he got all upset with Carlos Mencia from stealing other people's material.
Yeah.
True or not, but it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And then the crowd that really pays attention, they know what you're doing. They see and go, "That's not yours." They get
what?
it.
It's what do they say? Imitation's the height of flattery.
Yeah. Go
ahead, dude. Just don't take my stuff.
So speaking of your announcing, people can actually go to your website and I guess not hire you.
This winter with Aer Lingus, you can fly from Minneapolis St. Paul direct to Dublin, your gateway to Ireland. From Dublin's legendary sights and culture to the dramatic beauty of Ireland's coastlines and castles, you'll enjoy warm hospitality, cosy pubs, Michelin-star cuisine, and historical wonders wherever you choose to visit on this uniquely vibrant island. And because you'll be coming in winter, you'll also enjoy less tourists. Smart says fill your heart with Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com.
Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? That's where HomeAdvisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, HomeAdvisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free HomeAdvisor app to start your next project.
But like buy a voiceover.
No, they can hire me, and
okay.
Well, both. They can do all that. The way it works is this: is that I got so many requests from people. Suddenly, I was doing. Can you do my wedding? My baby was born. My bar mitzvah's happening.
So sending in a recording of
no. They just send in a request, and then I say, send me the script. Kristen, my partner, my VP, she would handle all this. She handles all this. So they would send the script in, and then based on script approval, we send them a fee. And then I thought, okay, it's Christmas, and it was like November, and I said, let's put something out So we put a special for like $99 because I've been paid hundreds for these things, if not more, for a championship introduction where I introduce you like you're a champion in the cage, and it's a keepsake for life because it's a one of a kind. And I put it for $99, giving partial proceeds to children, animal, and military charities, right? And I was only going to do it for that one Christmas. We got inundated with orders. So it's still up on my website at brucebuffer.com.
Still the $99 too?
At $2.99 for a video in front of a green screen. For a little extra charge, we can put anything behind the green screen in an image. So now it's whether it's weddings, I do a ton of weddings, championship introductions, a ton. But the thank you notes we started to get were bringing tears to our eyes because it brought so much happiness to them. Wow. The true UFC fans and such and otherwise. And we just said, let's just keep doing this. And now it's turned into a major business. And I do companies, whether it's social media posts or, I do everything voiceover wise. So all that. But I mean, people, the funny ones, people say, well, can you do my eulogy so I can have it for when I die? And
I was just thinking that. That's funny.
Getting in the religious thing. I've been asked to do that. But the birth of babies and the weddings and the championship intros are the most, and a ton of podcast introductions.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm surprised, and I heard you talking with Bill Burr about this, about you announcing a comedian. Because he was like, man, if you were to bring me out, he's like, I would just go out and slaughter. Like I would feel so just empowered the way you jazz up the guys before they fight. You know?
Bill's funny. I like Bill a lot. He's a great guy.
Did you ever done? I know that podcast was 4 or 5 years ago.
I've gone on stage for Russell Peters.
Oh, cool.
Introduced him. I went on stage for Tony Hinchcliffe when he was with Joey Diaz and Joe Rogan. And
Tony and I, we just did a show with Tony.
Yeah,
Tony just headlined.
Tony's a good friend of mine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Tony's a great guy. And when I introduced Tony, then I went back and Joe was like beside himself. Oh, that's the greatest introduction of all time. But Joe's always supportive of me. I'm very humble about the whole thing. I think whenever I go out to announce anybody, anywhere, anytime, whether it's the UFC or the University of Kentucky on Friday coming up, to me, it's my first time. I have to go out and prove to myself that I deserve this and the people that have hired me deserve it and the fans watching are enhanced by it, and then I get the right to do it again. So this is what's kept me for 24 years doing this, to have that same kiddie passion. When I say kiddie, I mean like a kid.
I know what you mean, yeah.
To walk out and do it. I'm sure for a comedy and when you're on stage, it's got to be the same thing.
Yeah.
But I like going to next levels, and that's why November 6th here in LA, the Laugh Factory, I'm having the first It's Time comedy night. Because of my love for stand-up comedy and maybe a frustration of not ever trying it myself. Mm-hmm. I am putting together, my partner's Sam Tripoli, who you know. And Sam's put together the show, and the Laugh Factory, we've agreed, we're having the first Wednesday night, and I want to do it once a month and then eventually take it on the road and have it the night before a UFC. But whatever monetization comes out of it, I'm not concerning myself with right now. I'm concerning myself with a great night of fun. I have a lot of comedian friends. My good friends will be there for the first show, and then we'll take it from there, and then give younger comedians a chance, like Tony does on his show, Kill Tony, to come in and establish themselves along with the headliners we'll have in the future.
That is so cool.
That's the plan. Let's see how the first night goes.
Fun. That's exciting. I was just talking to Sam the other day about that. I said, well, we have a mutual friend, Bruce Buffer. He's like, oh, you know Bruce? And then we shook hands and we're talking about it.
I'm sure we'll have you, as this thing grows, I'm sure you're going to be on one of the shows.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it. I do most of my stuff at the Comedy Store. I've got one coming up October 19th and then November 16th. And then I'm traveling a lot doing comedy. But for some reason, earlier in the month, I never get shows booked. So November 6th, if you're doing it in the first Wednesday of the month, that's going to be, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's the plan. And, again, we'll see how it goes. And my eventual thing is I want to have the main room at the Comedy Store, of course.
Yeah.
Or a Netflix special like every comedian dreams about.
Oh, yeah.
You got to go from point A to point B.
And it's funny, I listened to that podcast you did with Bill, and I remember thinking, I knew the podcast was old, but I was like, if he still hasn't tried comedy, I'm going to see if I can sneak him into one of my shows and do like 5 minutes or whatever to see if he'd be willing to do it. And then when I talked to you, you were actually already working on this show at the Laugh Factory. I was like, I missed it by a matter of weeks probably, because I would love to get you up in front of my show at the Comedy Store.
Once I get on, everything is a work in progress, as we say. Even my announcing after 24 years, I say the same thing. But I'll get to the comfort level of doing the 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll want to branch out on a free night and, go up to Tony's show on a Monday or do something with you too. I'll be open to that. I'm so busy, I don't know if a career in comedy is what I'm looking for.
It's fun though. That's great.
It's a ton of fun. But I'm just looking to perfect this one avenue where I can be the host and participate to the level that I care to, and sit back and laugh my ass off watching all my great comedians come in.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about doing my own show is just not having to pay for a ticket. I just get to